My name is Rona, and I've been part of this organization which teaches meditation since about 25 years, studying and practicing meditation. And in this center, about 3 years now. This organization inspires people to explore the possibilities of their own mind, to explore their non-physical nature, their inner potential. And it teaches meditation also. And so this session tonight is in the context of those activities. There is much more to say about the Brahma Kumaris, but if you would like to know more, please go online. There is a USA website, there's a center website, there's an international website, and you can read a lot. And on the different centers worldwide, and here in New York also. But one thing I wanted to say, there is a retreat center upstate, which is kind of nice to visit sometime. So I would encourage you to explore those possibilities if you're interested. But tonight's session is on silencing the inner chatter. So maybe I should not chatter too much. And what we're going to do is we're going to explore a little bit what is this inner chatter, each one for themselves. See if you can little bit get a more clear picture. What is it that goes on? And we're going to explore some methods how to silence that chatter. See if we can get some clarity and get some more practical ideas on what I can do to shift that. But first of all, we will all together explore. When you observe in yourself, what is it that chatter is all about? Worries? You write it like that? Worries? But worries about what? Or is it just where someone was saying this morning? I used to worry so much, and now I don't worry anymore. So now I'm worried that I don't worry. So what is it that we are worrying about? Or are we just by habit worriers? And anything makes us worry. Worrying about the future, worries about future. And even then, can you be a bit more specific about what in the future? Because there can be many things. It can be a relationship, it can be money, it can be the environment, it can be politics, it can be illness, or all of them. Worries about future survival in general. Is that it? Okay. You have an idea what kinds of thoughts are that, those worries? Hmm? Negative thoughts? But could you give an example? You don't have to be personal, but just an example of what are those kinds of thoughts that are in the mind going on. And how does that, what kind of thoughts exactly? Can you give an example? Self-destructive, but can you give an example of a thought like that? Yeah. What if I will lose my job? And then job goes on in the chanting in the mind, job, lose my job. I don't have control over the weather. I don't have control over the weather. What if it rains? Hmm. Hmm? Have to do. Hmm. That goes on all in our mind all the time. I should buy this. I have to do this. I have to do this. I have to go to the dentist. I have to do my tax return. I have to do my tax return. I have to do my tax return. Reminders. Like, could you give an example? Yeah, yeah. No, I understand, but do you have an example at the moment? Okay. So anything that takes you away from happiness, obstacles to happiness, losing the people that you love. So, what is the chatter going on? So, yeah, and it's true. I understand, but just wanting to get a bit more practical idea of what are those thoughts then that goes on. Uh, I'm scared that I wish that I won't lose them. I wish that I won't lose this person. Fear that they will become sick. Yeah. Hmm. Okay. Thinking of past unpleasant or painful events. Hmm. It could be with people also. Hmm. Hmm. So, so you think, I wish they would do that. I wish they would not do that. I wish they would be different. Expectations about others. Hmm? Worried that they will, that they will. Yeah. So thoughts about losing, that is also loss. I don't know. Do you write that loss? Oh, sorry. Loss of loved ones or friends. Hmm. Time. What about time? I have no time. Not enough time. Worrying about survival. Worrying about others. Others' opinion? Does that happen a lot? All the time? What will others think? What else is that inner chatter about? Worries? Yeah, worries about future. Anything specific? Survival? General survival. hmm Paying the bills. So worrying about money. Worrying about money. What is it? Worrying about health. Health. What else? Cynicism. Like what? Not seeing. So all the time having thoughts that you cannot trust people. Hmm? hmm Trust. No trust in people, especially. hmm Yeah, this is bit survival. No, comes. Is that inner chatter? Fear of death, the self and of others. Okay, part of the inner chatter. Mm. Replay in my mind a certain situation, and there can be all kinds of thoughts. Why? What? How? Who? When? Huh? Where? Which? And repeating those things in our minds. Mm. Anything else? Why do we have to suffer? Is there a purpose to life? Hmm? Mental sanity? Yeah. Anything else? There's quite a lot of chatter going on. Quite a lot of chatter going on. Hmm? Fear of missing out. Yeah. Mm. Continues to repeat in the mind. No, these are like repetitive. Where is it? I did put it somewhere. Repetitive thinking of past events, good or bad. Yeah. hmm I should forgive. I don't, but I should. Yeah. No, I'm asking. Actually, I should, but I don't really feel to. But I should, but I don't really feel to. Repetitive thinking about the things that we think we should do, but we don't. hmm Anything else that we did not mention? Regrets. Regrets. Anything else we have forgotten? Now, what does a mind look like in terms of feelings? A mind that is full of these things. How do we feel? Tired? Anxious? Mass? Overwhelmed? Overwhelmed? Drained? Self-doubting? Any other feelings? Heavy? Heavy? Confused? Anxious? Anything else? Stressed? 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 Myopic? Limited in perspective? I would also add trapped. You might feel trapped or stuck. And even hopeless, maybe. And questioning what is all this for and what is all this about. And you feel sick. Yeah. Yeah, so you feel inefficient because you're so filled with all of this. What is this? Uselessness, and you feel inefficient. Frustrated. Very good. Frustrated. That would have been my next question. Now, who is doing all of this? We ourselves, isn't it? Is anyone putting these thoughts in my mind? Is anyone forcing me to think these things? Self-guided. So, if we feel all those feelings we just described by thinking these kinds of thoughts, then what is wrong with us actually? Why do we do this? Why do we do this? Yeah, very good. Because it is a habit. It is just a habit. And because we do it collectively, we reinforce each other in this habit. True or not fully true? Because in whose hand is it what you think and what you think about? It's in my hands, no? Then why do I think things that make me feel heavy, that make me feel frustrated, that make me feel stressed, that make me feel anxious? Why do I think things? Is it because there is nothing else to think about? Maybe within my habitual content of thoughts, I don't have any other topics to think about. But then it is about time I start, what is it? taking in topics to think about, no? Mm, that is, yes, definitely. We 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 learn from each other also. We are influenced by the company we keep. So what people think about and talk about, that is what I also start talking and thinking about. If I do not actively exercise my power to to hmm, to choose, we all have power to choose what we think. Your thoughts are your choice. Now, there may be many things around that are not your choice. That is not in your hand whether the subway comes on time or not. It is not in your hand whether it rains or not. It is not in your hands whether it smells nicely or not nicely in Koreatown. That is not in your hand. But what you think whilst waiting for the subway, that is your choice. What you think whilst you're walking through Koreatown, that is your choice. Hmm? So, what do we need to do to take back and exercise again that power of choice? First of all, you be aware that I can choose what I think. Because habit and being influenced overrules that. No? But what I think about, and to to just wake up to this and remind myself repeatedly of this. What I think about is my choice. And I'm not saying that I have to think about unreal things or things that are not reality, but there are many different things I can think about. It doesn't need to be worrying all the time. So first step is to repeatedly remind the self, I have choice what I'm thinking about. I have that choice. No one can force you to think certain things. Now they can put your body in jail, yes. But even in jail, what you think is your choice. And we have famous examples of that. So this is one big step in getting out of this chatter, acknowledging your power to choose what you think. And what happens then? If you choose thoughts that are more, constructive for you. You have examples of more constructive thoughts than these? Can you name few? Exploring a new recipe, some special pizza or bagel with some special effect or whatever, a new vegan recipe. Think about people you love. Anything else? Huh? Yeah, have thoughts of gratitude. Focus on what is there instead of what is not there. Very good. Excellent. Can you name few things? Yeah. Hmm. Very good. Instead of focusing and lamenting on those who you have lost, focusing on those who are there and being grateful. Yeah. Ah, the soul, and that the soul is eternal. Yeah, very good. So you're entering into thoughts that are spiritual in nature, that there is not just a body and the body is perishable, but the being is eternal. And even though the bodily person is not there anymore, the soul is continuing on with the journey. Anything else? Hmm? Very good. Thoughts of self-improvement. That can be all kinds of things, no? Like a study or some hobby that you take up, or just working on certain uh, habits and tendencies within the self, or your own value systems and ethics. There are many. And whatever the situation is, instead of saying, oh, this is bad, and oh, you can also say, what can I learn from this? What else? Self-care. Can you give example of what kinds of thoughts you would have then? Mm. It is good for ourselves to be very practical also. Otherwise, it stays like a certain concept in our mind. But identify the chatter and also identify things that we can think about instead of all that chatter going on. No? For example, yeah, practicing mindfulness, bringing your awareness in the present instead of focusing on what is gone in the past or in the future, what is right in front of me now. Hmm. Yeah. Instead of expecting, focusing on giving. And those things of gratitude, what is it that we, all the thoughts that we could have, focusing on what we have instead of not have. What are those kinds of thoughts? You have an idea? Simple example, you're going to the subway and the subway is late. What happens? Hmm. Very good. The subway is late. Subway is late, but I know it is coming. It is better than walking. Now, this whole subway system, anyone here did anything to contribute to that? Mm. Hmm? Reading, that is another example. Yeah, you can read. But what I'm trying to say, the subway system is a very elaborate system. No, it is so much energy and thought and ingenuity and intelligence has gone into it and continues to go into it, and effort. And it is there for us to use. The whole public transport system. And one or two times, some it comes late. And in our mind, we make it like it is a we can be very uh, how to say condemning or what is it? Yeah, demanding, it is there, no? And it works most of the time. So this whole attitude of seeing what is there instead of focusing on what is not there. Simple things. Every day the sun comes up. Is there appreciation? Every day you get out of your bed, your eyes work, your feet work, your ears work, your mouth works. It might not be 100% all the time, but it does. Is there appreciation for us? All of these things are gifts that come to you daily, freely. So, this power of choice is one area. Choice of what you think, but also have enough reservoir of things to think about, to shift your chatter into a more constructive direction. That power is yours. Lot of your chatter, the chatter is around that. Yeah. Okay. Anyone else wanting to say? Then there is the other area. All of these things that we are chatting about internally, any of these things is in our hands? No, yeah, the thoughts are in our hands, but what we are thinking about, is that in our hands? Like, for example, uh, health issues. Okay, partly that is in your hands. Yeah? But once it is there, will worrying about it help? Survival. Worrying about it, will that help? Yeah. Instead of worry, what should we do? Hmm? Just live, do the right thing for the body. Choose the right, make the right choices as far as your understanding. But can we avoid end of life? So if there's a lot of chatter going on about end of life, is that what should we do about that? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Think about the present, but that doesn't make it go away, is it? We might try to avoid thinking about it, but it will not go away, isn't it? Enjoy the present. Very good. But people will say, I'm worrying about the future, so that spoils my present. Hmm? Cindy? Very good. Yeah. Excellent. Anyone else? So let's delete all of these. We can agree that all of these are not very useful for us, is it? We are kind of trapped in these kinds of thoughts, but they are not very useful to us. Now, acknowledging that they are not useful is an important step. Acknowledging that I have the power to choose what I think is another important step. Acknowledging that most of these things are inevitable to encounter in life. No, we will encounter the moments that we don't feel we have time. We will encounter situations where a loved one will be lost. We will encounter a moment where we might feel that we have lost out on something. We will encounter a situation where people behaved in a way and abused our trust. We will encounter all of those situations. Those situations are inevitable in life. True or not true? If they are inevitable, is it wise to spoil my internal environment with negative thoughts about it? No. It is inevitable that it will happen. So maybe I should learn to separate situations and my inner world. What I think and what I choose to think is different from what happens externally, because most of those things are inevitable. Let me at least not absorb what is happening and bring it inside of me too, because then I definitely spoil my own inner environment. But also, there is another tool which is very neat, I feel, is maybe we should change our perspective to those things. And that is where some of you have mentioned already. There is a situation, and I can cry about it, I can complain about it, I can worry about it, I can be sad about it, I can be angry about it, or I can say, maybe this situation is there for me to learn something. And then I change my attitude from a victim attitude, from an attitude of things are happening to me and this life is for suffering, into an attitude of learning and school. That is one way. Another thing is, there is a situation, and also I am interpreting that situation as a situation that is bad. But maybe my assumptions or my interpretations are limited. And maybe I can see that situation with a different perspective and have different feelings. Yeah, you gave a very good example that this whole area of fear of loss of loved ones or friends or relatives, we are internally conditioned to think that is a horrible thing, isn't it? But there are cultures in this world, when someone dies, they party. You know why? They think someone leaving this world, that is a good thing. They are going home, soul goes home, or soul goes to heaven, whatever their belief system. But because of that belief system, they don't suffer. And there are other cultures who feel there is a soul and there is a body, and the soul is on a journey. And this lifetime is just a little part of that journey. Now, anyone here doesn't like traveling? Being on a journey is a good thing, isn't it? And if you're on a journey, if you're too long stuck in one place, that's not a good thing, no? You want to move on to the next, to the next. So, the soul is on a journey, and that just means moving from one location to another location. If you like it, you want to stay a little longer. But can you see how something that in one perspective you see in one way and it generates certain feelings, whilst if you look at it from another perspective, it generates different feelings. So maybe whenever this chatter is going on and it generates feelings of anxiety, maybe we can experiment with changing perspective, seeing it differently. And we have, I don't know, maybe, but I've come across situations where a person behaves in a certain way that is not to my liking. But when I find out more about why that person behaved like that, about the circumstances around that behavior, internally my attitude changes, my feelings and my thought change, just because I find out more about the context. So maybe that is in all situations possible, that I can, if there is a certain chatter going on, if there are certain feelings and unpleasant, uncontrollable, unpleasant thoughts going on in the mind, maybe I need to look at that situation and try to broaden my perspective of it. Definitely. That is another area. We take almost everything personal. And almost nothing is meant personally. Meant personal. Because whatever people do and say says more about themselves than about me. So, I wanted to do this exercise with everyone. Is each one, you identify for yourself what is the most chatter in your mind. About what is the most chatter in your mind. You identify it. And you identify the root. I will give pen and paper so you could little bit write if you want to. And just identify. On the desk there is paper and some pen. So if you just become for a few moments, you become quiet and reflective. And not only now, just see maybe the past few days. What is the most chatter going on in your mind? And identify it for yourself. It can be a person, it can be a situation, it can be a repetitive circumstance, whatever. Everyone, they might need pen also. Yeah, can you take pen and I don't know who needs a pen. If you can just raise your hand. And a pencil is also. So take a minute, reflect for yourself what in the past maybe 2-3 days, what was the thing that was most creating chatter in your own mind. And if you feel it is 2 or 3 things, just write. Just no one will read this, it's just for you, don't worry. Yes? Or still thinking? Ready? Yeah? Okay, then now write down how does that situation make you feel? How do those thoughts about that situation, how do they make you feel? And then the next question, when you're ready, how would you want to feel? It's very hard. And then the last question, when you're finished. So you have identified the chatter. And how does that make that situation make you feel? How does that chatter make you feel? how would you want to feel about that situation or thing or person or whatever phenomena? How would you want to feel about it? And then the last question is, what would be necessary for you to feel the way you want to feel? And there can be various options. Now say, for example, it is about a person and that certain behavior, and one option can be that person changes their behavior. But that's not in your hand. No? But are there any other options also? No, it is not an expectation. What we're trying to identify is methods or strategies for you to use when this chatter comes. What can you apply for yourself? Is that clear? Is it a bit clear? So was it possible to find a strategy? Yeah, it's not that difficult. Liliana is not agreeing. So anyone want to share? Not maybe not the essence, but sorry, not the details, but in essence. Excellent. So what the strategy here is being clear of what is priority. I could get angry, I can get upset about money and rant 2 days, miss my whole vacation. Or what is important? What is priority? So again, this is like seeing a bigger picture. Is this worth it, losing my peace over? Is this worth it, losing my calm over? Is this worth it, getting all upset about it? So, and this is one of the powers that we have, the power of the intellect. Being able to see the bigger picture and what is priority. And we all have these powers, but we need to use them. We need to apply them. We're not using them. And we're just going with the herd and with the flow and what is normal, considered normal behavior. And we don't think little further. Stop and think little further and prioritize. What will we gain by arguing and fighting? Even if I had gained not losing that $60, it would have cost me so many anxiety and stress and anger and clashes and whatever. Would that have been worth it? So to kind of rationalize internally and prioritize what truly is important here, and then act. Someone, yeah. Yeah, one, yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, one thing that always helps, no, is to go into situation with your vision of what you want it to be like in the future. Instead of going into a situation, filling your mind about what it was before. No, I mean, these are private things, but I'll give an example. Say someone at work, a colleague, is unpleasant or doesn't say hello or whatever, some friction is there. And today I come, tomorrow I go to work and the colleague is there. And I can't avoid that. Colleague will be there. Now, do I go into my morning and do I go into seeing and meeting her, filling my mind with what happened in the past between us, how she behaved, what she did yesterday and day before and how and whatever? Or do I step into the situation thinking of how I would want our interaction to be in the future? And we don't have to be best friends. She doesn't have to be my best friend. But at least I want to be in a situation where I don't feel, pressured and stressed and tense about it. And I want to be able to be free to just say hello. So I go into that situation with my vision towards the future. And I go into that situation deciding for myself that I will act working towards that instead of how it used to be. Because I can also think, oh, she's always like this and this person is no good and look what she always did and this and this and this and this happened. And that all of that is true, but it doesn't help me now. Yeah? So step in the situation with a vision towards the future. That is one way. Yeah. 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 No. Yeah. What is your reverence to prioritize? Yeah. And in this case, you prioritize based on what is healthy for your feelings. Hmm? My reactions and my thinking, what is healthy for my inner world? And I prioritize based on that. This is what Mita was sharing. Now, I could make a big fuss, or I can just think, no, my vacation is more important to me. My own inner peace is more important to me. And so you prioritize based on what is healthy within. Um, One big reason why there is so much inner chatter is because we have never reflected, or very little reflected, on a bigger model to life, on our perspective on life. What is my life? What is the purpose of life? What is life all about? No? And we, as if we're just dropped into this life. We just grow up and things just happen to us. We feel like that most of the time. And we react to those things the way we are conditioned to, by our culture, by our parents, by media, by social media. And we think in stereotype ways. Now, the whole spiritual positioning is to make us see a bigger picture and to have us question, isn't there another way to position myself in life and another way to approach life? No? And I wanted to mention this so that you can also start reflecting on these things. And some of you have already seen and heard this, but still it was always useful to be reminded of this. The spiritual perspective on life is that you are not just a physical being. No? You are not just a bodily being. You are a thinking being, a being of consciousness. And that being of consciousness uses this body as a vehicle. I'm just drawing. I'm not so good at drawing, but still enjoy it. So you are that being of consciousness that uses this body. And the being of consciousness is invisible. And the focus of operation is the center of the forehead, just behind the eyes. But a spiritual being that uses this body as a vehicle. And this is the physical world, and in the physical world we have many different distractions, distractions, dollars and cell phones and toys, positions, possession, people, all kinds of things. And the bigger perspective, the spiritual perspective, is we are those spiritual beings. And we have come from a spiritual dimension. The world of souls, supreme region, there are many names for that world of consciousness. Beings of consciousness that come into the physical world, we travel in the physical world, and then we go back home to the home of souls. Now, if we look at this broader picture, what have we come to do here? Have fun. We have come to have fun. Well, that is one way to look at it. Why does someone go on a journey? Why do you go to travel? To experience, to have a different experience, but an experience of learning, an experience of enrichment, an experience of fun. Or you could also say the soul has come to play the game of life. Now, if you look at, for example, games, are they always easy? Yeah, so some games are not so easy, no? But what makes you an expert? Practice, but also, you know, when they have these, what is it called? These video games, you have levels, no? So you pass level 1, you pass level 2, level 3. It becomes more and more difficult. You become expert. So in this life, there are also levels in this game. And they are all there to make us stronger, to kind of push us to see a bigger perspective, to kind of help us bring out best in us, to kind of help us be more aware, but also be more wise. No, so to give an example, we were part of the Harlem Day Parade last Sunday, the Brahma Kumaris. With a little group, we were there. It was very nice. But we had to wait, like, they told us you have to be there early. The earlier you come, the earlier we'll march. That is first thing. But you definitely have to be there before 12. So we all rushed to be there before 12. Know what time we marched? Ten minutes to 6 we started. You see how good it was we were there and we did not lose our patience and gone home. So we were there about almost 6 hours waiting. Now, is this a bad thing or not? But internally, my patience has, what is the word? Has increased. Isn't that a good thing? I met so many different people who were all waiting also. Wasn't that a good thing? We were with a group and normally we don't have that much time to just hang out together and chat. So isn't that a good thing? It was not even that hot as some of the days could have been. So it was kind of nice. So was that a bad thing? Depending on how you look at it. We could have been there complaining 6 hours and fighting with the organization and saying all kind of thing or just go home, whatever. But so this perspective helps me. We're on this journey. We're playing this game. So let me see it as a game. Let me take the different opportunities to enhance and bring out the qualities within. This is a very useful method to shift the chatter within. See a bigger perspective. And maybe this game of life, at least at the present moment, is meant to give us little bit, how you call it? Little bit of a push, little bit of a pinch. Because there is much more in us that we are not using. You know, sometimes some parents, no, they get sometimes a bit frustrated because their children have such potential, but the children just doing nothing. Being lazy, hanging out, doing the wrong things. What do parents do? They kind of push the child, no? So maybe this is what life at this moment in time is doing with us. Challenging us, because there is much more in us than we are bringing out, than we are accessing. We have gone into the victim mode and the complainer mode and the, feeling not in control, as if things happen to us. Whilst life is trying to tell us, no, you don't have to be like that. There is much higher potential within you. There is much more greatness and beauty within you. Bring it out. And if we look at it like that, then we will say, okay, little bit more. Some more challenges. Bring it on. Bring it on. You know, like this, a good sportsman, when they are ready, they can't wait. No? And the better their opponent, better. Yeah. Mm. Yeah. No, I'm not saying the external situations are what they are. True experience of life is what I internally do with it. I'm not saying that only challenges all the time is good. But when they are there, it is the internal positioning that makes you feel alive and grow. Mm. Maybe. But maybe there are times that we experience certain things and times we experience other things. Yeah. But you understand, so this inner chatter, it comes from not acknowledging, first of all, that it is our creation inside. This inner chatter comes from the fact that, or one way to stop it is to take back control, acknowledging that I have the power to choose what I think. And a third mechanism is to explore a broader perspective around whatever that generates that inner chatter. There is always a bigger perspective. And if you want to really move into a more in-depth spiritual exploration, then we should explore the spiritual perspective on life and on self. And then it becomes a whole different ball game. To understand the greatness of the inner being, the real self, and all the potential that is there. And that life is kind of pushing us to bring it out. Something is not right. Yeah. Mm. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Mm. Mm. And yeah, yeah. I forgot the first question. Ah, yeah, yeah. Okay. You know, if we little bit glimpse at history, if we little bit glimpse at even, for example, at this moment, technological advancement and inventions, people come out with ingenious ideas. When? Yeah, but if, and when are they creative? Yeah, excellent. No, no. Actually, it is. If you truly observe, it is when people are reflective, and when they're in silence, when they're introspective, when they're observing things without the chatter. That is when there is space inside for creativity to truly come out. And if you ask entrepreneurs, they are having their most creative moments when they also build in moments of reflection and silence and thinking about and thinking clearly about things. Worrying actually diminishes our creative power. Insecurities diminish our creativity. And that is maybe something to experiment. I've noticed that within myself also. And to take moments of quiet. If there is something I need to take a decision on something, if I just keep thinking and thinking and thinking and thinking and thinking about it, many times I don't get other answers than what I'm already thinking anyway. But when I go and be quiet, do something else, put my mind on something else or meditate and just leave it be, then at another moment, thought will come. And most of the time, that thought is a much more rich thought. So, this idea that worrying gives me control might not be a right or not be all the time true. So just to allow yourself to experiment with it and approach it in a different way with different things. Just see. Just be quiet and to be, or for self. Yeah. And but we are not used to being in this way for ourselves and with ourselves. And the other thing is that this concept that we are not, that being happy means we're taking away from someone else. Being happy means we are not serious. Being happy means we are too frivolous. Being happy means we are not working hard enough. Being happy means that we don't truly love others because we will deprive them from what is their right. All of these things it might be good to have a new look at it. Because what spiritual knowledge proposes is that when you feel secure, when you feel happy, the best of you comes out. And that best will be better for others also. And your children and whoever else. Yeah, and so and that doesn't mean sacrifices cannot be made. But making a sacrifice with happiness is always a higher quality than if it comes from being squeezed or being forced or being sad. And my children, whoever is around me, will it not help them have a better quality of life if I am in a better frame of mind? Are we meant to suffer, which is a conditioned idea about human life? Or are we meant to play? Are we meant to play the game, but with genius and with intelligence and with skill and with joy? I do. And maybe how can this be free? How can I go to the bathroom for free, get coffee for free, sit here for free? No, but this is, with time is there and we have to stop. But we are as if stuck in a pattern of thinking and believing that limits us. And what spirituality says, there are other forces. And if we align to those other forces, then maybe we will feel differently. And it is up to us to explore. That inner chatter can be your prison. But the door is wide open. The only one holding you in that prison is. So this is an invitation to explore. And just explore with these three things that I was saying. Acknowledge that the chatter is generated by me. Acknowledge that you have the power to choose what you think and that you can think differently. Acknowledge, no, what was the third thing? Explore a bigger perspective in any situation. And if you truly want to explore a spiritual perspective, you're most welcome to do so also. There are follow-up courses, there are many different possibilities for that. Explore meditation. Yes? Thank you. It was a very nice evening, but time has gone quickly today. Let's close with a moment of silence. And maybe at this moment, you reinforce what you wrote down. That method that you wrote down. And pick something from today that you will practice for the coming few days. Thank you. Have a good